the transition involved from being a number one to suddenly being a number two, or in a backroom staff as Mark was at West Ham. Is it tricky when it comes to making that work?
Yeah.
Don't look at Mark Warburton. Look at us, Mr.
No,
Cook
because
and I here.
because it was.
You
was
had it at
more,
Leeds with Sam.
Yeah, it was weird because I was frightened to say what at certain times. Like, as a manager, sometimes you work on instinct, and you accept the responsibility for your instinct and the games that you've done and what you've seen. But then you've got an instinct, and you're like, I need to try this instinct out with the manager, and then he might have a different view on it. And it's just that ability to really be forthright with your opinion and carry it out, and then accept that responsibility, good or bad. And Sam was really good at me. I was quite lucky. Like he let me do what I needed to do. He was quite open for us to do that.
Yeah.
Team selection, he involved me in a lot of it. The meetings, I missed doing the meetings. I accept responsibility for what you do. I loved it. I remember him as Edwin one day because he had to speak to people like him in the press. And
likes of me,
likes of him.
Well,
him
he had
being
to go.
Yeah.
Obviously, he wasn't 10 Hag, so he would have gone for Sam as well. I remember thinking, that's the last thing you want to do now. He had the 3 hours, all the presses that he's got to do. And when we got beaten the game, I remember looking at him thinking, you've now got to go out and speak to the media, and you've got to put that face on and not lie, but back your players, support your players, keep the fans optimistic, keep the chairman happy. With all of the messages, I just sat and got a shower and waited for him to come in. So there's little bits of it I enjoyed. Yeah, it was probably that, and you probably agree with that.
Other parts you didn't envy.
Other parts I really missed the management.
I mean, Mark, you're in record as saying regards your situation with David Moyes at West Ham. I think David and I have different philosophies on the game, which is part of the reason he wanted me to come in. But you said, I think I just found that really challenging.
Yes.
Are you responsible for these words, Mr. Mark Warburton?
Yeah, I was, very much so. David and I have gone to the same vacation place for years and years of families, purely by chance. And last summer this came up, and we played golf a couple of times, and the offer came up. And my philosophy is more attacking. David's obviously built a fantastic reputation on a strong defence, hard to beat, etc. So that was a combination. That was the idea. But I think not in a rude way at all. David, that's exactly what I'm saying. But it's hard to change the way you do things. Carl's got a way of managing. I've got a way of managing, and you try and delegate. You try and be open-minded. End of the day.
Did you clash at all?
Yeah, we clashed absolutely in a good way. You should do. I think any manager would want to be challenged, and it got to the point that I felt, for me, I was getting frustrated, and there's a point that my job was to support the manager. If you're a number two, Carl's job there is to support Sam, make his job easier and make it the best he can do. And I knew that was my ultimate responsibility. But at the end of the day, it's eating away inside of you, and you're used to those decisions. The hardest thing for me, I agree with everything Carl said, the hardest thing is when you're a manager, you form a relationship with a player because you're the manager. And players aren't stupid. They know that you're the decision maker. So Carl would have had great relationships with certain players because the players know he picks a team. He does the contracts, he knows. And it's really hard as a number two to form that really tight relationship.
So in many cases, the way that Moyes went about it at West Ham, you didn't approve and you had to bite your lip.
It wasn't approved, far from it. Look at his experience, look at his track record. He's managed Man United, the biggest club in the world he's managed. So full of respect for that.
Second.
No, it was right the first time.
I knew that was coming. But you have to absolutely respect that. I was really keen to learn a lot. But my point is, I've done a lot of games. I have my way of doing it, and it got to the point I thought, well, you live once, you've got to do what you think is right. And I never wanted to fall out with David. I think he said the same thing. Friendship's too important, so we did the right thing.
Did you not find the other way around though with the players, the ones that weren't playing still liked you?
Yeah, of course.
Because when you're a manager, the ones who aren't playing just don't like you.
Yeah.
And for as much as what you try and be honest with them and transparent with, they don't like where when the gaffer was dropping people, I can still speak to them, have a coffee with them, and they didn't.
Yeah,
they didn't flare up. I mean, so much so, Mark, you're quoted as saying your friendship with Moyes would have been in danger if we'd carried on with me challenging in certain ways. So was there a danger of it being fractured because you didn't see eye to eye?
No, not at all. There's no story, Jim, in that respect. It's two, I'd say, senior people in the right way. Challenging each other. I think any job you want to be challenged. The last thing you want is to have a number two, number three, number four who don't give you their opinion, who aren't honest with you. If you have yes men, you're doomed to failure. So I'm sure myself, Billy, Paul Nevin, Kevin Owen, all of these guys here would say the right thing. But I got to the point where I knew that I was challenging too often, and it wasn't right. David, he's the manager, and it was important.
So it was an amicable parting of the
ways.
ways.
Yeah, very much so. I phoned David on the Friday after the parade. and said, I think for the sake of our friendship, let's do the right thing. So
Well, you contacted him to say that's it for me.
We would have spoke either way, Jim. There's no story there. It was just David and I had a good conversation. It was the right thing to do because I think we're old enough and mature enough to make the right decisions.
There was a situation at Palace, wasn't there, with Sean Derry when he fell out with Patrick Vieira because Vieira didn't like the tone with which he addressed the players. I think after they'd lost to Everton. Obviously, you've been in both situations. Do you fall down on Vieira's side in this instance, or was Sean Derry right to voice his unhappiness as a Palace legend and as part of the backroom staff?
I think that's a relationship you form with people, isn't it? That's a relationship, understanding them. I think how you talk to people is key, Alex. I really do. I think how you communicate, level of respect that you show is everything. You can speak your mind, but do so in a respectful fashion. If you overstep the line, then I think you break that relationship.
I think it's too fast. Sean was my assistant, and he did that one of the players. And I think sometimes an assistant, as a manager, you don't want to be that one always being the enforcer.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's been times, and I'm sure you would, when you go to your assistant is just have a go at one or two of them, and then you sort of wait and go to the toilet and wait for that, and then you come in and go, right, calm, is everyone set? So you do need that little bit of bite in the person who's supporting you. I've shown Derry, I've had Mick Harford, I've had Richie, but all people who have managed Craig Short, and I like the fact that they have got that in them, bit of balls to go and go, see you.
Yeah.
And there was only one time I was at the gaffer that was at Sam at Leeds that I actually had to go at a player because I felt he was disrespecting the manager. That's the fit. He's West Ham.
He told us, yeah.
And I actually said something to him in front of all the players because I felt it was a bit disrespectful at that time. So I do think it's important that the players know that the person who stood alongside the manager's got that, just that bit of grit and that strength of character.
But also, it's how often you use it.
Yeah.
If you think it was gunpowder, so I had David Weir, outstanding, obviously now at Brighton, a superb individual, top character, and John Eustace. So they wouldn't ever go very often, but you have to be good cop, bad cop. And I would say, John, you be bad cop. So he would go in and rip into them for 2 or 3 minutes, but not every week, not every month even, but you knew that when he did it, it meant something, it was powerful.
Yeah.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.